Welcome to the very first post-production round of the Global Disc Golf Course.
But in all seriousness, the reason that we're doing it this way is because we don't have any audio for all the footage that we took yesterday, so we had to adapt and overcome.
Yep, the mics were broken, so this is what we're doing. Yesterday we saw on Instagram that the PDGA Europe was partnering with the Global Disc Golf Course. And it's a pretty cool concept where anyone, anywhere in the world can play as long as there is a soccer field. It's a pretty simple setup, but I think that the holes are actually fairly challenging.
Yeah, they were. And they were pretty unique and very creative. So we just wanted to go out there and give it a try and show you guys what cool opportunity lies ahead.
So let's hop right into This is the website that you can go to look into the Global Disc Golf Course. I'm just quickly scrolling through here. If you want to pause and read, you can. But it's a 9-hole course that they design on a soccer field, and the light is inbounds and the dark is OB, and then there's some mandos and drop zones designated, which we'll kind of go through as we go through the video. Here on the scorecard, you score right here, and then you can go down and put in your information and they can record it online, and then you can get on the leaderboard if you score good enough. There's some course notes and some specific hole rules and stuff like that here. Here's the leaderboard, which me and Maya had both made it onto by the next morning after recording this video.
So the cool thing, kind of like Chase mentioned in the intro, is that you don't need that much to set up. You just need a soccer field and a basket. So before we started, we took the basket and we had to set it up 98 feet or 30 meters behind the soccer goal. So we first did that, and then to play, you just follow along with PDGA rules and you can see all of the stuff online. As you can also see at the bottom, there's some little notes that the dot shows the drop zone and the arrow shows the mando, which is very similar to how things would be in a normal course. So here I am explaining the first hole. It was a par 4, 140 meters or 459 feet. There is a landing zone to the left, and from there you need to make it up towards the basket area. It's called the landing strip because you can only land within the box or the thin line on the left side, which is pretty tight for OB, and then taking a hyzer around the goal into the landing area.
The other option is to just drive the green off the tee if you have 400 foot of power. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to drive the green here, and disc disappears up into the clouds and then crashes down behind the goal.
And so makes it.
Yep, that's inbounds. And what are you doing here, Maya?
I'm just laying up into the box because I don't have 400 feet of distance. So the cool thing about us both playing this is you can kind of see how two different players at different skill levels might approach each hole.
Yeah, and you didn't really want to mess with the skinny landing strip over there on the left.
No,
so
I didn't.
Just laying up in this big box will get you enough distance to where you can now drive the green from here.
Correct. And it was also super windy, and so I really didn't want to mess with OB while it was so windy, but
yeah, and right there you can see you're just like 5 feet inside OB.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty lengthy drive for you, but you got it.
Yep.
And you just pitched up for your birdie putt, or your par putt actually, and then that's my eagle putt. It was about 60 feet, and now you got another 15 feet for your par putt. Ching.
Imagine the sounds of the chains.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to tap in my birdie. Yep, got a birdie on that one. And that brings us to hole 2, par 3, 80 meters or 262 feet. The name of this hole is Straight Over. And that's because there's a mando on the left goalpost and a mando on the right goalpost. I think that's what it's called in soccer. And you got to throw it over the top bar to get to the basket. And the fairway is as wide as the goalpost. So if you hyzer out left or burn it over to the right, then you could be OB and take another stroke. So I'm taking a straight putter here and just throwing it up and over. And I hyzered out into the OB. And what are you throwing here, Maya?
I threw a buzz, just took it a little wide, but I kind of got it. It's hard to tell from the angle, but I did make it.
Yes, you
barely.
You just made it inside the Mando. Me here, we ended up not going back to the drop zone. We didn't know if it played last in bounds or back to the drop zone, or if the drop zone was only for the missed Mando. So I took it from last in bounds, missed my par putt. Maya missed her birdie putt, and then she taps me in for my bogey, and we're in for her par.
Hole 3 is a 290-foot par 3 or 90 meters, and there is a mandatory on the left of the left goal post. So if you miss the Mando, there is a drop zone at the corner of the goal, and there's not really any crazy OB on this hole, so you kind of just want to make the Mando and get into a good position. Since I'm still working on my forehand here, I'm throwing a heat because I just wanted to get it to have a little bit of a right turn. The wind kind of held it a little bit more straight than I meant to, but it kind of got a right finish.
With the wind, it was really a tailwind for almost every single shot today. So the disc just did not want to hyzer very far or turn very far. It really just wanted to push straight. I threw a nuke on a big spike hyzer, and it went a little bit deep of the pin.
So here I am doing a forehand upshot, and I accidentally didn't give it enough juice. I meant to get it closer, so I had a little bit longer of a putt than I was hoping for.
I have about 80 footer for my birdie. I'm gonna send it, and sailed it past. So now I got quite the comebacker. And Maya's in for her par. Well, that was a little shorter than I thought it was. It looked like it flew really far away.
Yeah, it did.
Hole 4, the name of this hole is distance only, because there's no Mandos or anything like that. OB is the left and right side of the soccer field. So you just really want to crush something out there as far as you can. It's par 4, 459 feet or 140 meters. So for this hole, I'm trying to just crush my nuke out there as far as possible. With this tailwind, it doesn't really want to move left or right very far, and I didn't give it enough height. But I'm out there a decent ways, should have a fairly simple approach. And then I threw a second disc and I ran out to go get it before the lawnmower ran it over. What are you throwing here, Maya? Trying to throw it at me?
Yeah, I think I was throwing my Hades, and I also threw it very low. So got a similar shot to you, but just a little bit sooner than where yours landed, as you can see.
And you're throwing what here?
I threw an EMAC Truth, and
Awesome.
I hit the bottom of the basket.
Nice. Yeah, that was a great shot.
And there I am boasting about it.
I'm just going zone, trying to spike it in there. And with the wind, I guess it shifted a little bit because it just pushed it way left.
Are you sure that wasn't a Zone OS?
No, that was just a zone. I don't have the Zone OS in the bag right now. So I got another longer putt here and over the top again.
Yeah, for whatever reason, you can't really, I mean, you can kind of tell with your shirt with how it's blowing, but it was really windy. The putts were pretty sketchy.
Yeah, it was blowing pretty darn hard. Here I am tapping in Maya's birdie and tapping in my par and moving on to the next hole.
So hole 5 was an interesting one because it is a par 3, 236 feet or 72 meters. And the interesting thing about this one is the Mando is below the height of the bottom of the goal crossbar. So you have to keep the throw low. And if you go above it, then you miss the Mando and you go to the drop zone. There's also a pretty thin strip of what would be inbounds and a lot of OB that can get yourself into some trouble.
The name of this hole is Throw Low. I actually really like this hole. It's kind of a challenging little skip shot. You can go forehand or backhand. What are you throwing here, Maya?
I believe I was throwing the Onyx.
Yep. And you got it just under that crossbar and perfect
Parked.
little skip up to the basket.
Maybe not parked it, but you know.
Close enough. And then I'm throwing my Tour Series Captain's Raptor. I'm getting a big skip past the basket, leaving me another fairly decent sized putt. But I make it for my birdie. Are you gonna make your 5-footer for birdie, Maya?
Did I put that I got a birdie on this hole?
I'm pretty sure. I hope so. Because you birdied it. Or did you miss this?
No, I birdied it. Now I'm like, my score might be...
Hole 6 is called Long Lines. This is a par 4, 459 feet again, 140 meters. And we're starting out 10 meters behind the goal. And there's a Mando left of the goal that's right in front of us. So it's either a forehand or a big turnover off the tee. And then on the second shot, it's a Mando right of the right goalpost. Most people are going to go hyzer here if they're a backhanded right-hand player. With the wind the way it was, I was going forehand off the tee because the big turnover I just knew was not going to travel to the right. And even this forehand did not want to move right very far. You can see it spiked down there in the corner of the screen. So I got a tricky little hyzer from there.
So I decided to throw my lightweight wave, and it kind of just held straight.
That wind just didn't let it turn.
So here I'm throwing my Onyx because I really wanted a hard left finish, and unfortunately I couldn't quite take it tight enough.
It's kind of scary with that Mando there, because if you miss it, then you don't really get to advance too much further forward. I'm going with my zone here, trying to throw a big spike hyzer up around the goalpost. I was pretty pinched off, and that wind just kind of pushed it straight and didn't let it hyzer all the way back to the basket.
So here I am with a really long putt or just a little upshot.
You're about 100 feet out. And perfect placement. Should be an easy tap in. Here's me just laying up. The wind is not played fair for me today, so just laying up to tap in my par. And I went ahead and tapped in your par as well. Hole 7's name is Righty Tighty. It's a par 3, 295 feet. It's similar to one of the previous holes we played, except we're playing from the other side of the field around the goalpost, the other direction, on the right. It's really just going to be a big spike hyzer if you got it, or you could play a low skip shot off the grass. The grass was pretty skippy today because it was freshly mowed and pretty low. So that could be a play depending on the wind. But I believe we're both throwing Onyx here, and I got my blue flippy Onyx. I'm going high to hopefully get the travel all the way left that it needs to go. And that's probably about 30 feet. We also had this little robot that was rolling around, painting all the lines, which was kind of cool to see. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I feel like so much time could be saved with that thing. So yeah, here I am throwing my Onyx, and I took it way wider than I intended, so I didn't get quite as much distance to the basket, but it's alright. It's just a little upshot, which I kind of put too much hyzer on it. I was like, ooh, that was not a very good upshot, but I'm still there.
Yeah, I feel like to reach this pin, you really do have to challenge the Mando, which is good. It makes the hole more difficult. It brings more risk into play. Oh.
And I missed my putt.
Dang. So that's a bogey?
I believe so, yeah.
I think that was your first bogey of the round. You've been playing pretty clean.
Yeah, but I also now realize that I had 2 birdies and I only put 1 birdie on my scorecard, so I'm just sitting here, not that it really matters that much, but anyway. So this hole, hole 8, was extremely creative in my opinion. It is a 180-foot par 4. Yes, par 4. And the reason it's a par 4 is because the mandatory is right of the closest goalpost. The Mando plane is in line with the goalpost and penalty spot. So you have to go completely around the goalpost and then kind of go back at the basket from there. Oh, and then plus there's hazard.
So Maya's shot was a little bit better than mine. I was pinched off by that the soccer goal, and I had to go up and over. Maya could just pitch up around the soccer goal, and she had a much better shot than me. My throw was in the hazard and Maya's was actually in C1, so she was safe. This is my putt for par. And I miss. Maya's putt for birdie. And she also missed. So I'm taking a bogey and she's taking a par there. Hole 9, it's a par 4. It's called 3 Islands. It's 126 meters or 413 feet to the pin. Depending on which island you're throwing from determines which drop zone you go to. I'm going nuke off the tee, trying to drive the green. I definitely have 414 feet in me, but with the wind, I just miscalculated a little bit and drug it too far left of circle 1. So what I'm doing here is I'm measuring the goal to see if Maya can drive the second island instead of just pitching up to the first. And she got a great skip there, and she's just in bounds on the second island. But since I went OB off the tee box, now I go to the first island. And I'm trying to drive the green again instead of laying up to the second island. And I barely make the green on the backside of the basket.
So here I am just going up and over because that was the most direct way to the basket, and I barely land in the circle.
Maya was putting for birdie, but I'm putting for par. And with all the wind, I just leave it short. And that was the Global Disc Golf Course.
So Chase, what did you think about the experience?
Well, I thought that the course was pretty well designed, and it can be challenging because of the OB and the Mandos that are there. And I'm actually excited to go give it another try and see if we can score better on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was super creative. I think it's a really cool concept, especially for those areas that don't have that many course options.
Yeah.
And I could even see myself, on a road trip or something, if we have a basket in the back of the truck, just finding a field along the way and using it as practice, or even just using it to practice some different shots, because there was a lot of creativity and OB and accuracy that was needed in order to score well.
For sure. It really makes you pull out all the shots in your tool bag to score well on that course. So overall, thumbs up for the Global Disc Golf Course.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Go give it a try.
Thanks for watching.